Hello everyone, and we say here, long time, no see, I know. Yeah, deciding I'm gonna do a video today. So I've been trying my hardest to break Sephiroth One Wing Angel. The reason for that is I feel the card is really strong. Stronger. I mean, I think everybody's like, oh yeah, really? But no, stronger than people think. I think most people play it kind of badly. Um, so let me explain. Once upon a time, Historic was a very popular format in Arena, and they released Blood Artists in Arena, and every black deck was playing 4 Blood Artists, Bolas, Citadel, all that. It was an amazing time. Like, I really had a lot of fun. And the main thing with that was going for it is that just Blood Artists is just kind of like this is win con on a card. Like, it just kind of, it wins the game. But when I saw Sephiroth, and I saw, it's like, okay, it's a Blood Artist that is also a 3/3. There is also a Sag Outlet. That it also draws you cards, so card advantage. That also draws you cards on attack, so sort of like a Titan in a way. Like you can imagine, it's just the ETB is already good, but if you get to attack, it's like double good. And on top of that, it transforms into this kind of monster that just wins the game on its own, a 5/5 flyer that gives you an emblem that just a Blood Artist forever, right? You have a Blood Artist forever. I was like, wow, man, we gotta make this, we gotta break this guy. And I've been trying different shells, and I've tried, Affinity. I've been trying Brute Scale and everything, and I know a lot of people are trying that. But then I was like, man, zombies, let's try zombies. And I mean, let's talk about zombies for a second. Zombies was a really good deck in the ring times because people would tap out for the ring and you would kill them next turn. There's Marionette Apprentice here, allows you to kill through the ring because the opponent loses life, right? And as for you who don't know, let me explain the combo real quick. You play Warren Soultrader, which is a card from Horizon Street that is a zombie, goblin, wizard, has a lot of things. And you can pay 1 life. It's a super simple card. I love this kind of cards, by the way. You pay 1 life, you sacrifice another creature, and you create a treasure token. Pretty simple, doesn't even look that broken. But when you combine the card type, zombie, with Gravecrawler, which is a 2/1 for 1 black that can block, but you may cast it from your graveyard as long as you control another zombie. You can see the combo, right? Like, this is not the combo, really. Like, these 2 cards together all they do is kill you. But you can basically pay 1 life, sacrifice a Gravecrawler, put it into play, and get a treasure, sacrifice a treasure to play a Gravecrawler, and then keep doing this forever until you die. You don't really want to do that. That doesn't look like the best combo. So you have to have a some kind of way to use this to kill your opponent. And the way until now had always been Marionette Apprentice. Marionette Apprentice is a fantastic card that allows you to basically drain your opponent for 2 every time. You can't see my left hand. For 2 every time you would actually do one of these cycles, right? So you would sack the treasure, they will lose 1 life. You would sack the Gravecrawler, they will lose 1 life, and you will only lose 1 life. So your opponent had less than, like, you had 1 more than half the life of your opponent. So your opponent was at 20, you were at 11, you were gonna win, or round it up. You always have to round up. This was great, but the issue, and the other good thing with Marionette Apprentice is that because it comes with a servo, you can use the servo as your first sack to get the Gravecrawler back and start a cycle. Amazing, right? It's a 2-for-1 in a way. It's like 2 bodies for 2 mana. Like, these cards are always pretty good. Like, you can imagine Bowmaster as a similar kind of card, right? But that's the issue with the deck, was that we were so dependent on Marionette Apprentice, right? Because if you didn't have an apprentice, the combo itself didn't do anything. Like, Warren Soultrader and Gravecrawler by themselves, they don't do anything at all. Like, they don't abandon your game plan. They don't really make, they don't really come. Like, it's not a Yagmoth that, at least even if you have, let's say, a Young Wolf, a Yagmoth, and a random creature, you get to kill your opponent's creatures, or even you get to sacrifice a bunch of things and then core for something else. No, here you just do nothing. Of course, there was an additional card that was part of this combo, which was actually what made me fall in love with the combo, which was Spymaster's Vault. Spymaster's Vault, and the tap unless you control a swamp, it adds black, and whenever you can actually tap it and pay a black, and target creature you control connives. And connives X, where X is the number of creatures that died this turn. So basically, you can imagine you have a Gravecrawler, you have Warren Soultrader, Gravecrawler, Warren Soultrader. You do this a bunch of times. Let's say you do it 10 times, and then you Spymaster's Vault into a Soultrader. You can draw 10 cards, discard 10 cards, and you can find that use that to find your Marionette, to find an Unearth for the Marionette, to find a Chthonian Nightmare for the Marionette. That's how it works, right? But the deck was always so dependent on Marionette, because if you didn't have the Marionette, like I even had sometimes my opponent with Surgical Extraction on Marionette, I'm like, oh, how the hell do I win now? Then we have to find ways to just maximize your Marionette. And that way that I found that was just really strong was Birthing Ritual. Birthing Ritual, for you don't know, I mean, you know this card, but Birthing Ritual was my innovation to the Zombies archetype, which basically meant that Fire Magic. You would just basically use the Birthing Ritual to sort of counter to your deck, looking for more Marionettes or looking for the combo. And the point was just to get a Marionette out. Even if it died, you would unearth it back and you would just win the game. The problem with Birthing Ritual at the moment, in my opinion, in this deck, is that they just kill it. Post-board, they have Wrath of the Skies, they even have sometimes Artifact and Enchantment Hate. And you need a board presence for it to be good. And that's a bit hard these days with so much removal running around. Right? Like you play a Gravecrawler, opponent just like Prismatic. They go Ritual on 2 without anything in play. That's very, very tough. So you need to have a 1-drop, and you need to have a 2-drop, and you need to have the Ritual for it to be strong. I mean, it's always strong. It's a strong card, but it's not amazing at the moment. I felt like it was a bit underwhelming. That was my issue, right? So Sephiroth, it's your Marionette 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Because if you have Sephiroth Soultrader, you have a Gravecrawler, and you have a Sephiroth out, you win the game. No matter how much life your opponent has, you can keep going through the cycle. You will drain your opponent for 1 every time. At some point, you will even flip the Sephiroth, and you'll just win the game. You can do this infinitely. You can deal infinite damage to your opponent, and you don't lose a single life. That's awesome. Which just means, if you look at how a lot of decks in Magic they are constructed, let's think about 8 rack, classic decks, 8 rack. Think about decks like 8 cast, like 8 Thought Monitors, or whatever. Or in this case, you could call it 8 Tamiyo Embry. Like these are 8 kind of broken 1-drops that you can play monks. You can think of energy, right? You have 8 broken 1-drops for also price for God of Souls. Even now, Ragavan. It's always the rule, Amos, that when you're able to get from copies 1, 2, 3, 4 to copies 5, 6, 7, 8 of a card, functional copies, the deck gets exponentially better. A lot better than when you are playing only 4 copies. Think about Hardened Scales. If they ever print a 1-mana Hardened Scales, let's say on an artifact, I mean, I don't know how the deck would work, but if they ever print that, we'll be very happy, right? Because then you will almost always have a Scales out. Like, the deck will have a Scales almost every single game, which is the limiting factor in Hardened Scales a lot of times. Not always, the game has changed a lot nowadays, but you know what I mean. Think about it, there's a lot of examples of decks being a lot stronger when you have 8 of one effect. I will give an example of Brute Scale. One of the reasons Brute Scales is strong is not you have 4 blades, 4 Bastion Brute Scales, which is you have the max amount of both. But you have 4 sagas, which are kind of Blades of the Bloodshifts in disguise. And you also have 8 4-inch things, 4 Malevolent Rambles, which are Brute Scale in disguise. You can see just by the fact that you have 8 cantrips that all do the same, find both of their copies, your deck becomes so much more consistent, so much more powerful. If Ramble didn't exist, I don't think the deck would really be that good, because you would have much harder time finding the Brute Scale. But now, you can easily find it. That's always the power, right? Almost every deck has something like this. There's like something with the math, I don't know, some interesting thing that once you have 8 of a copy, the deck is all better. Sephiroth is Marionette 5 and 8, and it's almost better than Marionette 5 and 8. So I was trying to maximize it in this deck, right? I started with a ritual list. I started with like Carrion Feeders and stuff, and then I was like, man, this just doesn't work well, You have let's say you have a 2-drop in play, and do you really want to sacrifice that to get a Sephiroth in play when you have nothing else in play? And then it just didn't really work. That was my thing. Like, it was just that the Sephiroth just didn't fit well with the ritual version. So I was like, I saw Young Dingo play with Blogas, and that gave me the idea. Why don't we try to maximize? I also, playing this ritual deck, because I was doing 2-3, it's not super good. I was like, man, there's no graveyard hate right now. I'm getting 1 Throwing Charm from time to time. 1 goes back in from time to time. I'm getting 1 Bogart Trawler. Such a small amount of graveyard hate. There's no Rest in Peace. There's no Leylines of the Void. Which I mean is that even if your opponent has 1-shot effect to exile your graveyard, you have ways to refill your graveyard. You actually don't really care about that, right? They spent a card, and if you, let's say, you rumble the next turn and you put another Gravecrawler in the graveyard, well, you're back in business. It's like their effect has done absolutely nothing, and they're 1 card down. Right? Because the things that are in the graveyard that are coming back, like the Gravecrawler and the Blockers, they're just pure card advantage. It didn't cost you anything. So the fact that your opponent has to use a 1 card to deal with your 0 cards, it's got advantage. If you add on top of that the ability to refill the graveyard very quickly, you're just in a winning position, in my opinion. And that's just only because on the meta right now, and you can look through it, there's no Rest in Peace, there's no Leyland of the Voids. The little as little as 1 graveyard hate piece is played by deck. I'm talking like 1 Soga Lantern in Affinity or Thomas Script. I'm talking like 1 Ghost Vacuum or 1 or 2 Tharent Charms in Boros Energy. I'm talking like 1 Heal Spellbomb or 1 Graveyard Trespasser in Blue-Black. You know, this is the level. Eldrazi plays 1 Bojuka Bog and Keiko Man. I mean, Keiko Man is kind of broken, so it does everything. But you know what I mean? No graveyard hate means graveyard strategies get stronger. And there's no other graveyard strategies, right? So why would people... There's only Gorios, and Gorios can be countered with these one-shot things. Because they're so lean on getting the fatty that if you're able to stop it and they only play 4 copies of Gorios... By the way, if one day they printed a functional 5, 6, 7, 8 copies of Gorios, that they would become a lot better. Because they don't have that, if you're able to just stop 1 Gorios, you basically win the game. Or if you have a Ghost Vacuum exiling their big bads, they win the game. But if you have a Ghost Vacuum against 2 blockers and 2 Gravecrawlers, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep it untapped so you can exile the thing I'm trying to get there on Earth? Or you just basically die to the blockers and the Gravecrawlers? Or you're going to tap it to exile a Gravecrawler and you die to the Earth? That's the thing. So basically, this is how the deck came to be. I decided to play the same base I had before. Gravecrawler, 4 Stitches Suppliers, 4 Unearths. This is like, I think, the best, enablers for the deck. You play 4 of each. Formal Masters, there's quite a lot of card draw, between Affinity deck lists and random Seasoned Pyromancers, Fables of the Mirror Breaker, Psychic Frogs, K commands. There's not crazy, but there's some amount of that. I'm losing focus here. And then Marinette Apprentice is obviously a very, very strong card. And then Rumble was the breakthrough card. Once I added Rumble, the deck went... Because Rumble does something very interesting for the deck. It fills up for Bloodghast and Gravecrawler, which is great. It allows you to play less lands, so I'm playing only 22 lands, so because you can make your land drops. It gives you a thing to sacrifice to Sephiroth, or to sacrifice in general, and it digs for the combo. It digs for the Warren Soultrader, it digs for Chthonian Nightmare. I have a new found love for Chthonian Nightmare, because you can find it with Rumble. It digs for Soultrader, it digs for Marinette, and it digs for Sephiroth. So basically, the limiting factor now is a lot of the time Soultrader, but because you have 8 ways to mill it, or even look for it for Rumble, and you have 6 ways to reanimate it, and you can even get the reanimation spell with the Rumble, it's pretty easy to find a Soultrader right now, and that's fucking strong. That's really, really powerful. So that was the thing. And then basically, the other thing I noticed is a lot of people are playing Sephiroth like a combo card. They are just waiting and waiting and waiting to use Sephiroth until they have like 4 spawns, and then they play Sephiroth, 75 to 4 spawns, flip Sephiroth. Oh my god, so strong. I don't think this is how you should play. Sephiroth is the perfect turn 3 threat because it's a Titan, meaning that it has an ETB that's powerful, 2-for-1, and it has an attack that's powerful, a 2-for-1, and an effect that's powerful just if it just sits there. That's just crazy. So just for you to look at what I see, right? I'm just going to show you what I think about, how I thought about this. All of these 24 cards you have here, if you play them on turn 1 and turn 2, and you follow that with a turn 3 Sephiroth, you get a 2-for-1. So you play Gravecrawler, and you play Sephiroth on 3, or even if you unearth it on 2, let's say if you play a Stitch of Suppliers, you got a 2-for-1, right? Gravecrawler, you actually wanted to sacrifice it. It's fodder in a way. It does the same in graveyard and in play almost. Sacrifice, you 2-for-1, you're card up, right? Stitch of Supply, you wanted to sacrifice it, so you're card up. Rumble gives you a token that you can sacrifice to the Sephiroth, you're card up. So imagine Rumble drawing you a card, like look at the top 4, pick 1, put the other ones in the graveyard, the next turn you draw a card. That's fucking broken. So you get that. Bloodghast, same deal. Orcish Bowmaster, you can sacrifice the army, 2-for-1. So now your Orcish Bowmasters dealt with something, dealt 1 damage, and drew a card. Yes, you got to say it. Marinette Apprentice, same deal, you sacrifice the Servo, you draw a card. So if you start, and I've done it only once, I didn't start with any of these 24 plays in the first turn or 2 of the game, right? And you follow it up with Sephiroth, you already got a 2-for-1. And then the dynamic of the game changes because your opponent cannot really just leave the Sephiroth around. You can kill them the next turn. If you attack with the Sephiroth, which is a 3-3, you get to draw another card. And maybe you can even pump it with Spymaster's Vault for another card draw, right? So they have to answer it. So what happens normally, like let's say you're on the play, you play, you rumble on 2, you play Sephiroth on 3, you sacrifice your dude, you draw your card, and then maybe your energy opponent wanted to play the Fable, or wanted to play something else, and they have to actually discharge it because they have to respect the Sephiroth, right? And because you play 4 Sephiroths, you play 6 ways to bring it back. It's so easy to just have another one and get another 2 for 1, drain your opponent some more, and force another removal until they are removal, and you win the game. So basically, being this removal magnet means that then when you do play the Warren Soultrader or the Marionette Apprentices, which are much more, they're cards that don't create that much advantage on their own, they're much more likely to actually do the thing. And that dynamic allowed me to do 3 for 1s in a row. I lost very close matches for the trophy 2 times. And the deck, I feel like I'm trying, and the list is getting better and better and better. So I know I'm going for a lot of detail here, but I hope you guys enjoy this. If not, I'll put a link down below on when to keep it. Mana base, I started with 8 fetches, but I decided to play 4 swamps because just mana is very nice in this deck. So if you're able to, like, ensure you have enough lands to actually cast a lot of spells, it's really, really good, right? So if you play too many fetch lands, here there's like 10 lands, let's say, not all fetchables, that you can use. It's super strong. It just really gives you this kind of solid, backbone of the deck. And the green splash is so minimal that 2 Overgrown Tomes, 1 Mortuary, and 7 fetch lands is generally enough, I found, to use it. And if you don't cast a Rumble on turn 2, it's awesome at the end of the world. You can play turn 3, it's still pretty good. Or turn 5, it's still pretty good. And even Soultrader can help you with that if at some point you need to sacrifice something to enable a Rumble. So this has been the reason. 4 swamps feels super good. You're good against all the, like, sometimes it's land destruction decks. You don't take as much damage. You could play the 4th Spy Master's Ball. You could play the 8th fetch land, but I really believe on the 4th swamp. 1 Phyrexian Tower doesn't really come up a lot, but when it does come up, it does do the thing. Then I added the 4 blockers, as I said. It works super well with Rumble and Steel Supplier. It's really good against controlling decks. It's really good against Esper. It's really good like game 1 because it allows you to combo. Sometimes you are playing against a matchup where you need to block a lot. You just cut all the blockers. Right? But a lot of matches you don't need to block, so you just use them aggressively. For Elite Masters, I think it's one of the best 2 for 1s. 7 with Marionette Apprentice. Chthonian Angers, I already explained how strong it is to. It's basically a sack outlet, because if you notice, there's a kind of big omission here. There's no Flare of Malice in the main deck. And it's a sack outlet, which is nice. So it allows you to sack things for damage or whatever. But it also allows you, of course, that when you get to 4 mana, and that's one of the reasons that Rumble is very nice, because you can easily get to 4 mana. When you get to 4 mana and you get to do this 2 times, the game is really over. You go like, sacrifice a random thing, get an Orcish Master, sacrifice a random thing, get a Marionette Apprentice. Very good. You already have a big board, you tell your opponent things, etc. And then, of course, Boa Troller, amazing card, Graveyard Hate in the main deck, a land that also is a creature that also can be unearthed, or Chthonian Nightmare is one of the actually good, really, really good cards in the deck. 3-1 also beats down pretty nicely. The fact that it can exile the graveyard is super, super premium. Like, there's not a lot of graveyard decks, but the ones that, Flage especially and all those, if you're able to randomly just, like, Modern plays an Embry and you just exile the graveyard, super strong. On the sideboard, so you notice there's no Flare of Malice. And the reason for that is, like, I was trying so hard to fit Flare of Malice. And of course I was cutting, like, a Blockgust, a Sephiroth. I was cutting maybe a Nightmare, a Rumble, things like these, I was cutting, like, threats to make sure that I could play Metal Man. But what's happening is, like, game 1, I realized my opponent could hardly ever stop what I was doing because they almost have no graveyard hate. I was able to kill them turn 3 and turn 4 consistently. Even energy, they tap out on 3, turn 4, and you're like, okay, I'll just kill you, So I was feeling like, why do I even need to interact? Like, I don't need to interact. Sephiroth is very good at keeping you alive, so why interact at all? So I decided to, just not interact. That was the thing. So game 1 is pure combo. It's pure aggression. We are not here trying to stop what opponent's doing. We're trying to win the game. And I think combo decks work better when you have a single purpose in mind. The more mid-range you're trying to become, the more I'm going to play 3 or 4 bullets, and I'm going to play, I don't know, a Cling to Dust, and a Grave Trespasser, and 3 Flares of Malice, maybe push, maybe Thoughtseize as well. You become addicted to the safety that you're being able to push something on turn 1, on the draw, versus Affinity that goes turn 1. Tamiya, you see this amazing, like, oh my god, I killed this Tamiya, it's so good. But a lot of times you have this final push, and you wish it was as a combo piece to finish your opponent out. So until now, the deck can work without any interaction. But post-board, of course, we bring a lot of interaction. First card, most important thing is like, yeah, the Flexible Malice. They work super well with the deck. Sacrifice, kill sticks. Very. If you, let's say, you sacrifice one thing and then you flare, you have there's two things that have died. So one more thing dying that turn flips Sephiroth already. Oh shit, which is very nice. The other very important card, Calling Ritual. It's good against energy. It's good against prowess. It's good against affinity. It's just one of the best cards of just resetting the board. And sometimes there's a way, you know, you get a lot of the mana back if you happen to have a Rumble, or you happen to have, I don't know, like a bunch of grave calls in the graveyard or something like that. You can just wipe the board and have a huge board, or even win on the same turn, which is very, very nice. Has come up a lot. Pick Your Poison, also super important card to deal with all the zoos, all the Calenium Conquerors in the world. It's very important to kill them. It's good, like for example against energy, bring them because you can kill Goblin Bombardment, you can kill Starry Prison, and you can kill the Calenium Conqueror, or a jumped Guide of Souls, which I think in general is like a good enough value. One follow push is I want it for the white-black matchup. I want it for Frogs. I want it for all these decks where I really felt like I was needing a fourth interactions piece, but I didn't want to play the fourth Flare Malice. Follow push is a 1-for-1 at the end of the day, right? Rex Sage is really good, you know, 9-mareable, unearthable, Artifact Hate, probably the best one there is. Pretty cheap as well. Toxic Deluge, I used to have 2 and 1, and then I added Thoughtses, then I cut the Thoughtses because I never bring them in. Toxic Deluge is for, I don't know if I would bring it always against energy, maybe on the draw. I don't think you maybe need it, I don't think you need that much against energy. But it's especially for the Esper matchup. And the Esper matchup, they don't kill you fast, but they just generate sometimes these huge boards of like 5/5s and 4/4s, also against Zoo. But if you're able to just play Toxic Deluge, completely wipe their board, you are actually doing pretty well. And because you have Sephiroth to gain life, it's not so bad as it used to be before with Toxic Deluge. I felt like when you casted it, you didn't lose that turn, but you were not winning the game. I feel 1 is also the perfect amount. If you have too many Toxic Deluges, your life just starts becoming very hard. You play 3, the first one you can cast, the second you can maybe justify, but if you ever draw the third, this game over, right? So I like 1, I think it's kind of the perfect one-off. Fulminator Mage, it's just for it's like a way to stop combo decks, it's a way to stop zoo decks, it's a way to stop control decks, it's a way to stop any deck that's kind of trying to do something nasty with the mana. Like, I'm going to play 3 colors I will splash 1 land for this color. Yeah, you play this and you stop them, right? That's very, very good. I like Fulminators on the play a lot more than I like them on the draw. That's why I'm playing only 3, because I don't bring them all the time on the draw. I mean, also good against Eldrazi, good against Tron, obviously. And because you have Chthonian Nightmare, Nairs, Rumbles, it's pretty easy to get them, it's pretty easy to cast them. It's pretty easy to cast them twice and just really, really, destroy your opponent. I like the card a lot. I think the card is pretty powerful. I think it's a nice win con to have against these decks. Kind of alternative win con. A lot of my plan against combo decks, that's the reason I cut the thoughts, is just to actually just combo them. You can easily kill people turn 3 and turn 4, so why? If your opponent, like I had a Riot Neoform, he put an attack and play turn 3. I was like, sure. I untap. I killed him. I made Soultrader. I had the Sephiroth Soultrader, Gravecaller, and they died. Only Endurance saved them at that point, and even the Atraxa does not kill you fast enough. So even if they have 1 Endurance, they hit you with an Atraxa. You're like, okay, next turn I go try to kill you again, right? I mean, that's the thing. And then I decided to add 1 Grave Trespasser. You can think of this as the copy number 4, 5 of Power Trawler. And especially for the energy matchup, for any deck that's playing like, you know, Gorios, for any deck that's playing a few things I want to exile from the graveyard, kind of a threat that can be a nerf, and it's kind of hard for opponent to deal with it. You know, they use a Fada push, they need to discard a card. And it's kind of a threat in its zone, you don't have to do a lot about it. It's kind of on point because it's a creature, it's a black creature. It's 1 more removal magnet. So it demands an answer eventually, right? Especially if you flip it, you have a 4/4 with ward. But they don't really want to answer it, right? So it's kind of this 1 more thing that opponent needs to answer. I was feeling sometimes I was really hoping to find a ward, please. So I think this 5th copy really, really adds to the deck. Okay, guys, that's the deck. I will post videos of the gameplay. I think this will be a deck. I'm kind of sore in the throat right now. I'll take a little break and play a leak, and I will also upload it. So you get free deck here with all the thoughts that I have on the deck. I hope this is good. you'll get the gameplay tomorrow or later. I mean, I'll be a little maybe today. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Let me know you like these kind of videos. I love making this kind of videos where I have delved super deep in the strategy with a really cool card. I've changed, in my opinion, there's one way the deck list was always built, which was the way I always built it with 4 rituals, that. And this upgrade, taking ideas from other people, I think that's really cool. I think it's one of my favorite things to do, is just to take something and change it to be better. Love that stuff. This is one of my favorite things to do in Magic. So if you like this kind of content, please like it, please subscribe, and let me know. And I'll make more of these for other things when I happen to have them. And I'll also make the gameplay video because I know you guys want to see this in action. Peace out.